Hi, this is Jim Cranston from 7 Every Minute and 7everyminute.com, the podcast and website all about reimagining your life. Thanks for joining me tonight because we're going to be talking a little bit about embracing change as opportunity. So if you like what you hear tonight, please leave a like, tell your friends, send me a message. Always like to hear back from you. So if you had tried to look at us last week, if you were one of the few, you might have noticed that there was actually a fairly long live put up. It was over a half hour. And I was actually pretty excited to do it. Had a bunch of newsy things in it and stuff like that. But my executive producer was looking through it and said, "Are you sure that fact is right?" And I was pretty sure. And I went and double checked it, and it was not. And so it was kind of core to the whole podcast and woven into other stories within it. So ends up, make a long story short, half hour work, poof, gone. Sorry. So that was disappointing, but I really thought one of the things I try to do is make sure that anything I say is accurate and true. And like I said, it was woven into the whole story. And so rather than put a disclaimer up later on or something like that, the problem with that is once the story is out, then it's out. And if you put up a disclaimer later, people will hear the first story, not see the disclaimer. So I just elected, and we purged it back off the podcast stream and off the podcast site and YouTube and everywhere. So if you saw it, like I say, I hope you enjoyed the other pieces of it. And I was here last week and then had to take it off. And so on kind of that same story, this is actually my second episode for this evening because I spent about 15 minutes recording this outside on my phone, and it looked like everything went pretty well. But the phone, I thought it had just blanked the display, but it turns out it had gone to sleep. And StreamYard, the software that I used, nicely just kind of ungraciously crashed. It left the stream open, but there's no data going up to it. So I lost that entire take. Life is a learning experience, and this kind of goes along with tonight's theme, which is just try new things and see how they work. So we won't do that one again. So, but why was I doing a remote shot anyway? Why was I standing out in the woods? Fundamentally, because I have two sets of notes. So the handwritten ones I use from outside, rather extensive set of notes. But basically it comes down to, what I find for myself is if I keep doing the same thing again and again, it's very difficult to be excited about it. We're kind of wired that way. And I'll talk a little more about that in a second. So, but I was kind of standing in the woods just to put a different environment, which gives a different energy to the whole thing at that point. When you're out there, you see trees instead of the books behind me. You see me smacking flies and stuff like that because it's the change of season. So all the mosquitoes and little no-see-ums and all the other little flies are out and biting people. And so it gives both not only me a different energy, but you a different energy because we're doing things kind of real time. It's like, this isn't in a studio. I do know it's happening right now because he's apologizing for it and waving flies away from his head and all that sort of stuff. And so it just gives a whole different effect. And the reason that's kind of neat is I was talking about morning routines a couple of weeks ago. And what I discovered in myself is if I do the same morning routine every morning, or even do a morning routine every morning, for me, I don't find it invigorating. It becomes part of a habit. It becomes part of my whole day. And so when that happens, it becomes kind of an automatic thing. Oh, I do, 3 affirmations, and then I do this, and then I do that. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's good to do them, but your mind operates in a different way because at that point it kind of becomes on autopilot. And actually, the whole pandemic, I think, put a lot of us kind of on autopilot. We got up to, if you were fortunate enough to be able to work at home, and I was and still am, which is a very, very nice situation overall, but you kind of slip into this pattern. You get up, you do your morning routine, whatever it is, you take a shower, blah, 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 get something to eat. Then you go walk across the living room, down the stairs to your basement, out to your garage, wherever you have your work area set up. And you go and you sit down, you see the same people on the same Zoom calls. And very often where I work, the Zoom calls, people don't have their cameras on. So you get to look at the same chart or whatever, table of figures or something on the screen, and it's all very not part of you. It's kind of like you're watching your life go by, and I don't want the podcast to become like that. It's not, oh, okay, I sat down, I wrote the script, here's the script, this is what I do, this is the introduction, blah blah blah. Some consistency is very nice, but some changes are very nice too, because as people, we're kind of wired for change. Change is really good. We are our minds are wired to look for change around us. And there's a bunch of reasons for that. Part of it is it energizes us, and energizes us in two different ways. One is we look at a change and immediately we have to notice it, because from our long ago history, that change could be either something walking through the underbrush that we could eat, or something that could eat us, right? You don't know to get a little more information. So our whole being is very much wired for change. And the other reason is when change comes by, it may be an opportunity for the situation to improve or the situation to get worse. And so you're always on the lookout for things that bring more into your life. And that's not in a greedy sort of way, but it's that if you discover a new way of doing something, then that's invigorating. It's exciting. It's kind of like, wow, it just made my life a little more fun, a little more interesting. I have a little more time available. It made it a little easier, whatever it is. That change brought something good. If you try something and it doesn't work out so good, it's kind of, oh, okay, now I put it into my memory banks, kind of like that didn't work out so well. And you set it aside the next time you see like that. So we're just naturally wired to look for change and to kind of embrace it. And it's naturally invigorating. And that's kind of the natural feedback for us. It's invigorating so that you want to do it, so that you keep looking for it, so that you survive originally. And now it's so that you can improve your life. So long story, basically, I decided some time ago that 2023 is going to be a year of change and growth for me. A bunch of reasons for that I won't go into right now, but some are historical. Some of them are over 20 years old. And so 2023, I'm looking for ways where I can introduce change to my life in a very positive way. So I'm pretty excited about that. And I was thinking about the podcast and thought, I was doing more lives and just little short videos and things before, reels and things like that on Instagram. Those have been postponed for the minute. They'll be coming back soon. But meanwhile, the main character of the whole thing, the weekly live, is gotten not necessarily repetitious. We cover different material, but the format is very much the same, which is good up to a point. And I think it's good if you're doing a course or something like that. You don't want the format to always be different. You're trying to figure out what's going on every lesson. But for something like a podcast, and actually, I have to contact some people. I'm going to start accepting people back onto the show again. I haven't done that in a long time. You may recall some of the early ones. But I think it's fun when things are a little bit different. The general focus is the same. The general message is the same, but there's different ways to get there. And so when there's change in your life, it's kind of the same way, that the general focus or your vision is probably the same, and probably your goals, your short, medium term goals, they may be the same. They might be modified a little bit, but probably how you attain those goals is a little bit different. So instead of taking this job, doing this work, doing this on the side, meeting these people, going to this show, I decide that I'm going to go to this show and do something else, do things even in just a different order or whatever. That change introduces a new energy into your life. And when you do that, the outcome may be the same. It may be different. The goals may stay the same. The goals may change, but almost for sure, you're going to have a different path to get there, and it'll give you different experiences. And that's what makes life interesting, and at least for me. And it also, I feel, makes life fuller, because if you always do the same thing and everything's always expected, one of the problems that happens is when an interesting change goes by, you're not looking for it at all. And so you might miss something really neat going by. If you always have little changes going on, they're not to be big changes, but it's little changes. You're always kind of on the lookout for what might be going by. Then when an interesting change goes by, like, ooh, let's try that. That might be a lot of fun. let's try that. That might actually put me much closer to my goals than I thought I could be this year. So I would encourage you, as change goes by, be open to it. Doesn't mean you have to embrace every change that goes by, but at least be open to it, recognize it as a change. And I'll talk about that as part of the homework. But like one of the things that's going on in my life right now, they're closing a couple of parishes around me, Roman Catholic Church parishes. There's a lot of that going on. And one of them in particular, I'm kind of involved in. And so you have this old church building. It's going to be for sale soon. And there's this beautiful, huge church organ. It's as big as the table that I'm working on right now. 3 manual organ, full set of pedals. I forget, it's 26, 38 pedals, whatever it is. Well, it's just, the specs go on and on and on. It's a delightful instrument. I'm trying to find a new home for it. And all the stained glass in the church have the opportunity to possibly get that either into the other church or into another church, or to somehow have it just not be part of a building where somebody takes it out with a hammer, because there's a lot of beautiful work and there's all donated. And so the reason I bring that up is, insofar as my overall activities for my day, they take up a very small part of it. But because they're so different than my regular activities, they make my day very interesting. And so that's the other reason for just looking for change, or for things that are different than what you normally do. It's not just to keep finding new and novel things to do. That's not really the purpose. It's if something is consistent with your goals, but it brings more energy into your life, more interest into your life. I spent far too long last night reading about how to remove stained glass, and fundamentally, and even how stained glass is built. These windows are probably 20, 30 feet tall, 3-4 feet wide, just nice church stained glass windows. Good gracious, what a procedure, what an effort. I've always seen the rods go across the windows and never really thought much about them. Thought maybe they had something to do with keeping the frame up or something. Turns out that's actually what holds all the glass up. They have little copper wires that are soldered into the lead of the leaded glass. And that's actually what supports the weight of the window. And you start looking about this, and it's one of those things where you see them in everyday life, and it's kind of like, oh, that looks really pretty. But then you look at it and say, oh, that looks really pretty, and it's 150 years old. Then you look at it and it's kind of like, wow, some of that stained glass is 400 or 500 years old. How did these people even do this and get this to the state of art that they got it to? And that's the other thing about looking for change and being open to change, is it brings you new paths to really realize how amazing life can be, and all the things there that are there to just help you appreciate all the good things about life. So, as always, it's not the big things that make life special. I mean, big things obviously can make life very special, but I find it's a lot of the interesting little things that really bring all the nuance out of life and help you to see all the wonderful things that are around you. So your homework, optional of course, is to look for opportunities to change and decide if you want to embrace them or not. So you see things go by all the time. Some are good, some are foolish. It doesn't mean you have to take every change that comes by, but try and look for some, recognize them, and say, what would happen if I did that? What would happen if I didn't do that? Just thinking about it has changed my attitude for the rest of the day. And just considering all sorts of changes. And it could be how you view a situation. It could be how you view an object. It could be how you react to something. It could be a new opportunity. Everything in life is full of decisions and changes and opportunities for change and to enhance yourself. So I'd encourage you, try and look for a couple and decide if you want to embrace them or not. And bonus points, if you also consider that if accepting that change would alter your goals or even expand your vision. So you're glancing through the paper, you say, people wanted to teach English in Poland for the Ukrainian refugees. Just picking something that's not a real ad, but there are probably some like that. I know somebody that volunteers doing that for free. And say, and just ponder it for a minute. If I did that, what opportunities would that open up? I've always wanted to live in Europe, or no, I've never wanted to live in Europe. Just ponder it for a minute and see if it would alter your goals or even expand your vision. So that's it. Thanks so much for joining me. That's it for the evening. And ukr7.com. still the place to go if you want to make donations to Ukraine, or if you want the link to World Central Kitchen. Remember, they're active all through the world in helping people after disasters. Probably one of the best humanitarian causes possible to get food to people in the course of natural disasters, or in the case of Ukraine, in a war. And the link to World Central Kitchen is there at ukr7.com. And so that's it for the evening. As always, remember, one of the best ways to care for yourself is to care for others. Thank you for joining me tonight. If you can think, if someone's looking for a way to donate to Ukraine, I know I harp on this a lot, but a lot of people feel it's something that's way over there, wherever there is, and it's not. It's, for many people, it's their daily life. And if it's not that, there are a lot of disasters going on right now. There's just, besides obviously the ongoing war in Ukraine, there's a typhoon just went through Myanmar, and I think it's going to Bangladesh. I just heard about, I think it was a big mudslide in Peru, and there was some other natural disaster in Colombia that just happened this week, and it might have been another, I think it's another weather-related event. So, there are always people who can use a hand. If you can and you're able, please do try and help out. There's a lot of good causes around. Obviously, be careful of bad ones. There are a lot of people who have really kind of no lower limit, but a lot of good causes that could use a little support. Please consider them. Again, best way to care for yourself is to care for others. So have a great week. Remember to live the life that you dreamed of, because that's the path to true contentment. Love and encouragement to everyone. See you next week on 7 Every Minute, 7everyminute.com. So good to see you again. It's not in the woods, but still glad to be here. Thank you. Have a good night.